Hi guys, so in yesterday's video I was talking about how the symbol, what I call in my work the symbol, is an archetype, is quite a unique archetype among all the archetypes, because the symbol is an archetype that straddles the collective unconscious and the personal unconscious. So if you like, it is the archetype of, we could even say it's the primordial image of the personal unconscious. There's the mother archetype, there's the God archetype, there's the father archetype, there's the child archetype, there is obviously there is the trickster archetype, there is the hero's archetype. There's all the archetypes, because they cannot be described scientifically. They are usually given a mythological description, and they trace themes that activate us in our unconscious life despite us not being aware of it. And I think there is an archetype of the personality, and in personality there is personal unconscious, right? It's not directly the collective or unconscious that defines our personality, because our personality is uniquely our own. Even if I say I have an INFJ personality, for example, I certainly don't have just an INFJ personality. I have this INFJ personality right here, right now, which is Ren's INFJ personality. So my personality has an INFJ themes circulating through it, but it's also my personality, my unique spin on being an INFJ. So the personality is primarily a question of personal unconscious, but as we will see in later videos, in the INFJ and the INTJ, the personality is kind of singularly permeated with archetypal themes or archetypal water, in a way that other personalities are less. There is archetypal themes, archetypal myth, archetypal water in all personal unconsciouses of all the personalities, but the NI, as is well known, the NI personality is very archetypal, very mythological, and that's because there's a more intense penetration of the personal unconscious of the NI dominant by these archetypes. And this is done by way of the archetype of the personality. It's called the symbol. I call it the symbol. The symbol is both my coining, but also is inspired by Jung, because for Jung, symbols are not signs, symbols are concrete entities as well, right? That's why I call the symbol an archetype, because it has in common, and it is an archetype, so it has in common that it has a concreteness to it. It is a psychic entity, right? It's not just like transparent words or thin air, right? It has psychic existence, it has real psychic existence, and its role primarily or originally is to bind the collective unconscious and the personal unconscious via this archetype of the personality. So you could also say that the formation of the personality, the maturing of the personality, ensures a good stitching of the collective unconscious and the personal unconscious. And it's true that people whose personality is very hard to define, because it seems always kind of never fully made, are often people who are quite psychotic, and who are precisely the people whose binding between the collective unconscious and the personal unconscious is not really achieved. Usually the collective unconscious is constantly overwhelming and invading the personal unconscious of these people. Now, on the other hand, there is just no personal unconscious without a collective unconscious. That's not possible. So the symbol is that particular archetype that binds the collective unconscious and the personal unconscious. If you like, it's the personal unconscious spokesperson among the archetypes. And what this symbol has as a quality that is quite unique to it is that when it activates itself in the infant's psychic life, it is empty. It is empty, and it will only be filled, this is important, so it will only be filled by the fundamental dominant fantasy with PH, unconscious fantasy, that takes dominance in the first year of life of the infant. So if you like, if an infant's early life is such that it becomes dominated by an NI type of fantasy, this fantasy will infiltrate the archetype we call the symbol, the archetype of the personality, and fill it with NI themes. If the infant becomes dominated by an NE kind of fantasy, the archetype we call the symbol will be dominated by, invaded and filled by any themes. Same with SI themes. So if you like, you can imagine like this sort of empty vessel that forms at birth, binding the collective unconscious and the personal unconscious, but it's still a very precarious kind of binding. And it becomes more solid when it's filled with a fundamental fantasy. This fundamental fantasy is formed the first year of life, and we will explore the meaning of the fundamental fantasy in a later video. So that's all for the symbol, guys. Don't forget to support my Patreon. The first link below is to my Patreon page. I'd be so grateful if you support me, because I cannot do this work without you, and I won't be able to continue doing this work without you. So I hope you support me. You know that in return you get access to really cool perks, like the whole library of deep dive videos only for patrons. They're long format videos, and you choose the topic. It's published every 2 weeks. There's also access to our Discord server, the Fourfold. Come hang out with us. It's a really nice time. Don't forget also about my 2 books on the INFJ personality. If you haven't got them yet, if you want a deep understanding of the personality we call the INFJ, you need to read these books. They are here, both of them, right? So there is the Ecstatic Soul, which is my book on the inner world of the INFJ. I can show you it here. The Ecstatic Soul, a new look at the INFJ personality, is all about INFJ consciousness, INFJ thinking. You need this book to understand this topic. And its sequel, The Infinite Soul, which is more about INFJ life in the modern world. So INFJ's outer world, often seen as hostile by INFJs, and how to find meaning, purpose, and value in a world that INFJs often find hostile. We can find this meaning, we can find this value, and these books explore that. They're both linked below. Thank you, guys, and talk to you tomorrow.